Hello and welcome to another episode of Buy, Avoid or Wait for Sale. And in this episode, I'll be talking about Kena Bridge of Spirits now that I've finally completed the game. Now, on this series of videos, I try to get a video up within the first week of release, even if I haven't completed the game, because by the time I make the video, I will have played enough to give it, a first impressions and actually make a decent recommendation. With Kena, I found myself actually needed to complete the game first so I could give it a full review because I could see that the game was getting better and better the more that I played. And it's definitely a lot better than I was originally expecting. I would even go as far as to say that this is actually one of my favorite games I've played this year. So, Kena Bridge of Spirits is an action adventure game that's available on PlayStation 4 and 5 and PC on the Epic Game Store, where you play as a spirit guide that helps souls transition to the spirit world. These people are basically trapped in limbo because they haven't dealt with the trauma from how they actually died, and the land has also been infected with a poison which you'll gradually need to clear over the course of the game. She'll get help from these little creatures called the rots, which you'll collect throughout the game and can be used in combat and to heal, clear paths, and move objects. When Kenna was first revealed, they gave us the impression that this was a kid's game. I know I wasn't the only person to think this because it basically looks like a Pixar movie with all the cute little rock creatures and everything being colourful and happy. Okay, now even in the early stages of the game, I was thinking that this game was going to be a breeze and it was going to be a relaxing break from all the murdering I've been doing in other games like Deathloop. Now, the combat at the start is actually pretty straightforward to master. You've got a staff for melee combat. You can lock onto targets and roll out of the way to dodge attacks. Then you got the spirit bow, which lets you attack targets at a distance. You can send the rot to occupy and attack enemies as well, and they're basically your backup in a fight. There's a light attack that can be used by pressing the right bumper on the controller, which I ended up using the most as it was quicker than the heavy attack. Heavy attacks are stronger, but are much slower, so you risk being hit by enemies' attacks when using them. There's a pretty basic upgrade system as well, which allows you to upgrade your attacks, shield, and even buy special rot attacks, which can end up being a lifesaver in a fight. At first, one of the main criticisms I had was the combat was too basic. Let's be real. It's not on the same level as, say, a Devil May Cry, where you can string together different combos, but I actually think that this works. Maybe they'll make the combat more complex in the sequel, but to be honest, I actually don't think they need to. One thing that definitely does need improving though is the parry system because it's really bad. You get a cool animation when you land a parry, which does cause some damage, but the timing is off, which makes it hard to hit. A lot of the time I actually ended up hitting the parry by accident when I was just trying to block. But when I actually tried to parry, I couldn't. Like I said, the timing's off. So a lot of the time I just ended up, trying to dodge attacks rather than block them. There were some times when I would try to dodge and I could clearly see on screen that I dodged an attack, but it was still registered as a hit and cause serious damage. But these issues are things that can be fixed in patches, and it seems that they've already attempted this with the parry system, as it's not as bad as it originally was when the game was released. The best thing about this game for me was definitely the boss fights, and there are a lot of boss fights in this game. Each story arc has a load of mini bosses that lead up to the main boss that you need to defeat, and the mini bosses are actually really challenging. You'll need to visit different areas off the land and kill the boss of that section. By doing this, you'll cleanse the area and claim an artifact, and when you collect enough artifacts, you'll be able to face the main boss for that section. Now, these main bosses are actually the trap spirits that you need to cleanse, and they're really tough. Some of the mini bosses will also appear in challenges and random fights around the game, or just in areas that you need to progress through. Similar to how the boss system works in Doom Eternal, where you beat them and then they keep turning up to try and ruin your day. In most of these boss battles, you'll find a load of regular enemies that you'll also have to fight to make things even more challenging. But what really makes it challenging is the healing system. The thing is, Kina cannot heal auto heal when in combat, so you have to be careful during each battle, whether it's a regular fight or a boss battle. There are these healing flowers which you can send the rot at to heal her, but there are only one or two available when in a battle. Once you've used them, they don't replenish, so you have to use them at the right moment and only when necessary. Also, you have to collect enough courage to perform rot actions like healing or occupying an enemy, and courage is collected from causing damage to enemies. So it's an interesting way of doing things and is different from your standard health packs that you find in other games. And each boss feels unique, and the main bosses will put out some seriously nasty attacks when you start to really damage them, and usually have damage points in hard to hit locations. I'm purposely not showing any of the main bosses in this review to avoid spoilers, but if you want to check them out, you can watch some of the boss fight videos I've already uploaded to my channel. When defeating one of the main bosses, you'll get an animation showing what actually happened to them before they died. This is great because I actually thought this humanized the character rather than them just being evil for the sake of being evil. Because the bosses get more and more challenging, you'll feel a massive sense of achievement when you actually defeat one, which is how a good boss should be. Rather than having optional side missions, there are some side activities that you can take part in. There's target practice for your spirit bow, and completing these can usually give you extra rot to add to your army of rots. Spirit mail, which can be found with a little searching, and when delivered will unlock another area for you to explore. There are meditation spots, which will actually let you meditate for as long as you want, and are actually quite relaxing. As well as being relaxing, it will also increase Kina's maximum health. And there are environmental puzzles which will need to be completed during main missions. And there are also corrupted chests for you to open, which will basically start a challenge like defeat a certain number of enemies in a time frame. Completing these will give you crystals or hats for your rot, which brings me to the next thing I wasn't really a fan of. You can't customize your character. Now, this is minor, but it would have been nice to be able to buy cosmetics for Kina from the shopping carts that you can find in the village using the crystals, which are the game's currency. Instead, the only thing that you can spend the crystals on are hats for the rots, which I really didn't care about. So I ended up with thousands of crystals by the time I got to the end of the game. Also, if you are planning on trophy hunting in this game, there's a point of no return that the game doesn't actually tell you about, like most other games do. Once you face the second from last boss, you can't return to explore the land, and there's no free roam when you complete the game either. And there's no New Game Plus yet, so if you currently want to get the Platinum Trophy on PlayStation, you're going to have to replay the game on Master Difficulty and unlock everything again from scratch. Good luck with that. I'm gonna wait and see if they include New Game Plus in the future and then get back on it, because believe me when I say that this game is tough. The bosses in this game will beat you down, make you rage quit, and possibly damage your expensive DualSense controller. Do not be fooled by people chatting on the internet about how this game could be platinumed in one day. When the game launched, there was an exploit that let people skip having to play the entire game on master difficulty, so I'm guessing they probably played it on easy and then used the exploit to get the platinum. I played the first few hours on Spirit Guide difficulty, which is the game's normal mode. This difficulty isn't too bad, but the bosses can still be challenging. When I decided that I wanted to get the platinum, I increased difficulty to expert of Spirit Guide so that it wouldn't be a massive jump from normal to master difficulty when going for the platinum. In Expert Spirit Guide, the enemies are much more aggressive and you can only charge up your rot actions by inflicting damage. It's tough enough on Expert, so I'm going to have to call bullshit on anyone that wants to say they legitly platinum this game in a day or even a weekend. Now, just like with every other game I've played on PS5, I have to talk about the DualSense controller. To be honest, I was a little disappointed with how the DualSense is used in some parts of the game. I guess other developers have been spoiling us because there are some things that I've just come to expect now when playing a PS5 title. Straight away I noticed that there's no haptic feedback while Kina is running around, which is something I've become used to now. When you're in boss fights later on in the game, you do feel some rumble, but it just felt like basic rumble, like what you'd find in other controllers. What this game does do really well though is use the adaptive triggers. The triggers are used to perfection when using the spirit bow, so much so that it was actually tiring out my fingers during one of the boss battles where using the bow was essential to victory. This actually added tension to the fight and had me making quick choices like, do I make quick, less powerful shots on my target, or do I pull the bow all the way back with my already tired fingers and try to get a more powerful, damaging shot? I didn't play with the headset on this one, but 3D audio through the TV speakers was a feature that was added in the last PS5 system updates, and the sound is great on this game, which brings me to another thing I absolutely loved about this game, and that's the music. The music perfectly fits every setting. When going through sections of the forest that have already been cleared, there's a very happy, joyful vibe, and then the moment you cross a line to a poisoned area, the music will instantly change. When you step back into the other area, it will change back. On some of the earlier boss fights, the music is so good that it's distracting, and when you get to some of the later boss fights, the music just sounds epic. Seriously, the music is as good as the graphics in this game are stunning. So now for the final verdict. Should you buy, avoid, or wait for sale? This is definitely a buy from me. I was amazed that this was Ember Lab's first game. This does not feel like any studio's first game. Yes, there are some things that could be improved, like a better parry system, something decent to spend the game's currency on, a point of no return warning, and a new game plus mode, as well as the game actually detecting when you've dodged out the way in some fights. But like I said, this is their first game. And even more impressive, it was made by a team of only 15 people. If you own a PS5 or a gaming PC, you definitely need to buy this game. It is available on PS4 as well, but I'm not sure how well it runs on PS4. From some of the things that happens towards the end of the game, it may need a little extra horsepower to run it. So you may want to wait until you can get a PS5. But apart from that reason, you need to get this game. It's fun, challenging, stunning to look at, and isn't even a full price game. This is definitely one of my favorite games I've played this year, and is definitely a sleeper hit. Well done, Ember Lab. I mean, in fact, this is actually a Game of the Year contender, which I'm shocked to say, because like I said, this is their first game. Now, if you've made it this far, I'm guessing you've enjoyed the video or found it useful. If you have, please leave it a like and share it with anyone who may be interested in this game. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and check out some other videos. Thanks for watching.